Chapter 6. The Tale of Princess Madhavi. Vishnukarma's deep voice took the helm through past events as he began his narration. In the deep south, by the conflux point of great Ganga, where it plunges into Sindhu Sea, lays the great kingdom of Satavahana, which is ruled by the greatest emperor, King Baldev from Nebendu dynasty. He had 2 queens and 3 daughters. First 2 girls from first queen, Queen Prabhavati, and the third one from his second queen, Queen Gayatri. After the 2 of his marriages, he was desperate for the birth of a worthy successor, but his hopes had been ravaged by both the queens due to consecutive miscarriages of Queen Prabhavati and prolonged ailment of his second wife, Queen Gayatri, after her first child. Baldeva was only child of his parents and hence the only successor of his dynasty. So, to continue his monarchy, he needed a boy child who could be his successor to rule his kingdom after him. Hence, he had remarried for the 3rd time with Queen Suryamukhi, who was young, intelligent, and exceptionally gorgeous. On the occasion of their marriage, the great sages and priests of high rank in the kingdom were present to bless the couple, who suggested Baldeva to organize a Mahayajna, a great offering ceremony to please Lord Brahma, in order to bless the gracious couple with a son, before they constrained in an apposite wedlock. And so abided the king and organized a grand Mahayajna, hoping to get his immense longing fulfilled this time by this 3rd marriage. With the splendid arrangements set up for successful undertakings, the king sat for performing rituals with his newly-wed wife, Queen Suryamukhi, in front of sacred fire, formally called Yajna. While the rituals were going on, the chief priest asked him to offer flowers and sweets as prasad to their ancestry deity, Ma Rohini, who had always been worshipped by his clan ancestry. Baldeva sustained a doubt in his mind and secretively thought to himself, "This ceremony has been organized to please Lord Brahma for blessing me with a son who would be my worthy heir. Hence, I should first offer my prayers to Lord Brahma only." As he did, without even considering for asking the consent of priests, secretively within his faint mumbles. No one could know at the moment what a sick, self-willed imprudence he was conspiring, assuming for the sole purpose of the interest of his kingdom, but destiny is capable of unlayering karma, even if our actions are shrouded with the most righteous deeds. Months passed and then came the time when Queen Suryamukhi delivered a child. King Baldeva was anxious, walking back and forth in his courtroom, waiting to hear the long-awaited news. He eagerly looked at the approaching maidservant who was howling the casket of good news. But to his unreserved disappointment, he got informed that this was a girl again. Baldeva got furious with extreme rage and called for the chief priest to put across his vengeance. But right then, before anyone could arrive, appeared the most gracious Ma Rohini. She flayed and condemned his contemptuous act of conniving against the gods, and beyond all, showing disrespect to her. King Baldeva instantly realized what folly he had committed. He fell at the goddess's feet and repented to forgive him for such a transgression against his dharma. The graceful goddess ordered him to revert the birth of that girl child in order to gratify her for bestowing a boon upon him as this wonderful child, and wait patiently for the time when his ultimate wish would get fulfilled. She then disappeared after enlightening the king towards the path of righteousness. As said in Gita, the result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness when one becomes purified. But action done in the mode of passion results in distress and misery, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. However, King Baldev was still under the penitence of his appalling conduct. He felt mortified of his inept demeanor of committing such insanity. "Forgive me, mother. I repent. Please forgive me for being such a reckless mortal," he said with deep, soft sobs. "In your respect, I would now organize a grand ceremony to honor your boon, the birth of this gracious girl child. And my word to you is that she will always remain my dearest among all my kids. I will try to wash away my sins with every day's shower of my utmost love on her," announced Baldeva. His words of declaration were loud enough to be heard by the courtiers and priests stationed around him, who acquitted him of all fallacies for his naive behavior and decided to help him in getting his only wish come true. A grand ceremony was organized again. All the rituals were practiced in such a way that at no point the social order could find the difference whether it was birth of a son or a daughter. The child was fondly named Madhavi by the chief priests, a girl dear to the Lord of Lords, Shri Krishna. Days passed, and in a couple of years, after Madhavi turned 2, Queen Suryamukhi gave birth to a boy child, who was in all senses the most graceful and worthy successor of King of Satvahana. He was named Prince Gautam. There were joy and glee all over the kingdom. Everybody was overjoyed and celebrating except one, Baldeva's first wife, Queen Prabhavati. She had always envied the other 2 queens, especially Suryamukhi, for being so dear to the king, and now the mother of the one and only heir of the kingdom. Top of all, that Baldeva's unusual fondness for Madhavi out of the 4 daughters was even more unbearable for her. Prabhavati's some of the confidential maids had leaked about her that she had strangulated her 2 newborn girls with her own hands in the repulsion of not getting a son, and declared them the death in the womb itself before the birth. But as castigated by Ma Rohini, she received the curse of not conceiving a child ever again. But alas, instead of repenting her tardiness, she was now always looking for an opportunity to hurt Suryamukhi by any means, who, on the contrary, had always respected Prabhavati's feelings and duly showed sisterly affection for her. As the time was flying over the boundaries of the past, leaving strong stains of blissful memories of childhood, present found its domicile into the lap of imperial family, flourishing and growing up into the most exorbitant adolescence, nurtured under a generous shower of immense love and affection of King Baldeva and the 3 queens. All the kids were learning to read and write from the royal priests. Along with the studies of Vedas, Puranas, and other significant epics, study and assessments on the teachings and learning from the chapters of holy books of Ramayana and Gita were obligatory in learning moral values and showing responsibilities not only towards the family and friends, but to the society as a whole. Learning to be law-abiding and charitable, follow discipline and rules, and offering prayers to gods as their daily practices were must as a rule. Prince Gautam was getting trained with sword fighting, archery, spear throwing, horse riding, and other super skills essential for being a great ruler. Madhavi, along with her brother, was also training and mastering all those said skills and almost at all times proved to be better than him, which made the king way too prouder for her. For Bhaldeva, his lovable daughter Madhavi was always the essence of all discussions whenever he would converse with his queens or court priests about his children's future. Time flies with no bounds. In few years, all the 5 children of Bhaldeva turned into the most attractive and graceful prince and princesses, growing into the most majestic juvenility of the era. By that time, Gautam and Madhavi had also become proficient in all their skills, and their skills were also often tested over the time and again against unalarmed attacks of enemy states when they proudly and majestically assisted King Baldeva in the battles and glorified numbers of unfathomable victories. King Baldeva got his 3 elder charming daughters married off to the renowned neighboring kingdom's noble princes. And now he was concerned about Madhavi's turn, for whom finding a suitable match was not less than fighting a difficult battle itself. But he also believed that that was not improbable also, as he firmly confined his great faith in Ma Rohini to must have planned something meriting for their extraordinary child. Vishnukarma recommenced his narration as Rudra manifested more inquisitiveness to know besides that all.